Thanks for joining us. The search is on tonight for a suspect wanted in a violent attack that turned deadly. It happened early this morning in North Toronto. There are plenty of questions. Anam Khan spent the day talking to people in the area. She takes us there.
Homicide detectives spent the morning on this busy intersection on Bathurst and Wilson, trying to piece together the moments that led to a violent attack that left a 51-year-old man dead.
We just need to be more vigilant as a community and try to stop this before it happens.
Police say they were called to Bathurst and Wilson just after 6 a.m. on Saturday. Emergency crews did their best, but a man died from his injuries.
It's unknown if it is targeted, but it does seem to be isolated.
Police say violence broke out between two men, but it's unclear what started the fight. Homicide detectives confirm the victim is a 51-year-old man.
It appears like sharp force injuries were sustained, but we'll know more tomorrow, assuming the postmortem takes place at that time.
He says video evidence shows numerous bystanders on the sidewalk. Police are so far not releasing any information about a suspect or who the victim is. Pieces of clothing were marked as evidence, including a black baseball cap. The owner of a convenience store directly in front of the crime scene says he knew the victim.
Identified as a customer of mine, Filipino guy. He's in 50s. He's a well-known guy to the area, nice guy. Yeah, immediately feels big sad because he's a customer here almost every day.
The incident worrying other businesses in the neighborhood.
It was a bit concerning because this hasn't happened before here. Usually, all our businesses, we all kind of know each other. So this was kind of out of the blue.
Bathurst and Wilson opened just before 2 p.m. and police say this is still very much an active investigation. They believe there are multiple witnesses and they're asking them to come forward. Anam Khan, CBC News, Toronto.
In Mississauga, one woman is dead, another in hospital with life-threatening injuries after a terrible crash. Peel police say it happened around 9 a.m. this morning.
We took one female to a local hospital with life-threatening injuries, and another woman was taken to a trauma center with serious injuries. The other driver was also taken to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Unfortunately, the female that was taken to a local hospital was pronounced deceased at the hospital.
You can see it there. The impact so severe, one vehicle ended up overturned in the middle of the intersection, the other one with damage to its front end. According to police, one vehicle was traveling northbound, the other eastbound when they crashed. It's still unclear why it happened, but the Major Collision Bureau is leading the investigation. Peel police are asking anyone with dash cam footage to contact them. 2 workers were sent to hospital last night and many were left without power after a hydro vault reportedly caught fire. It happened downtown Toronto shortly before 1 a.m. Officials say crews were met by a light haze of smoke coming out of an underground utility vault where Toronto Hydro crews were working. Paramedics say one man was taken to hospital with serious injuries but is expected to survive. A second man suffered minor injuries. According to Toronto Hydro's outage map, as many as 1,000 customers were impacted. Power is now fully restored, according to Toronto Hydro. Now, Toronto Fire says no flames were found inside the vault, which is used to bury electrical wires. Officials still trying to figure out what happened with this one, too. A group of seniors continue to fight back after learning their retirement home is being sold to developers. You may remember this story out of Mississauga from a couple of weeks ago. As Clara Pasica shows us, this week the local city council stepped in hoping to help.
This 92-year-old just wants to stay in her 8th floor unit she's lived in for 20 years.
I was shocked when the girls handed me the file. After they left, I sat down and I just couldn't believe it. I haven't had a good night's sleep since we've had that delivered to us. I wake up about 5 in the morning and the first thing I think of is, oh gosh, we have to move.
Some 200 Mississauga seniors like Dodge are being told they need to leave their Chartwell retirement home, Heritage Glen retirement residence, this summer. News also difficult for their families.
I am disgusted that they could do this to seniors. It's not just a move. They're losing their whole community, their support system, their health care. There's a pharmacy in the building, their doctor in the building that comes in once a week. They're losing everything. Everything.
families, neighbors, and workers took to the intersection next to the retirement home today, calling for more time and more money for families to adapt to the change. A motion passed unanimously at Mississauga City Hall this week is giving some families hope. It asks for Chartwell to provide 6 months' rent instead of 3 to the seniors and extend the eviction notice to 180 days to give seniors more time to find somewhere else suitable. Chartwell says it is covering all costs associated with the relocation process, including one-on-one transition supports, moving expenses, and offering discounted accommodations at other Chartwell residences. But Acorn Peel, a tenant advocacy group who's joined the fight for the seniors, say it's not enough.
Seniors have a lowered immune system to start with. Stress will lower this even more. This will bring on heart attacks, it'll bring on anything and everything. Give these people time. You don't say, in 3 months you have to be out of here and you have to find other accommodation.
Buoyed by all the support, this family says they're not going anywhere.
We're going to stay and we're going to fight it and we're going to prolong it as long as we can.
A spokesperson for Chartwell says that the company is doing all it can to help these seniors find other homes, saying that more than 80 have already found somewhere else to go since this process began in March. They say that no one will be left on the streets and that all seniors have been given more than the required notice to move. Clara Pasica, CBC News, Mississauga.
Workers at the Art Gallery of Ontario have been on strike now for more than a week, and today they saw a show of support from federal NDP leader Jagmeet Singh.
The workers that are fighting for fairness, for fighting for dignity today, these workers aren't just fighting for your own jobs, your own security. You're fighting for all workers. Every worker in our province, in our country, deserves dignity, justice, and fairness, and that's what this fight is about.
The union OPSU Local 535 represents a number of employees at the AGO, including assistant curators, archivists, researchers, and carpenters. After months of negotiations, the union voted to reject the gallery's latest offer back on March 26, sparking the labor disruption. Just 2 sleeps now until the solar eclipse. Several Ontario cities are in for quite the show on the path of totality as the moon blocks the sun and ushers in darkness, including St. Catharines. I spoke to the mayor to hear all about the excitement and preparation.
When this came to regional council, and it's going back now probably 14 months, we had a presentation from our economic development team, talking about the preparations for the solar eclipse. And I will admit, my first thought was, what solar eclipse? But then just the way it was portrayed, that there was concerns, there was going to be situations with emergency services. We wanted to make sure that we had enough cell reception and all these other things. And I was fascinated by the conversation because I just couldn't imagine that it would be that big of an issue that they needed to start talking about it so early and in advance. And over the last couple of, few months now, last 2 months, it's totally clarified for me what staff were doing, attempting to do, and sort of refocusing us all on, the challenges that could exist. And we hear a lot about the possible numbers of people coming into the region. I mean, this is only a region, we're just shy of 500,000 people in Niagara as it stands, but the numbers we're hearing, we could see the population of Niagara double or triple for a day. So needing to make sure that, emergency services are able to operate and that we have all hands on deck. There's no, staff absences. We make sure that anybody who's able to be working on that day is. It took a lot of work to get us to this point. In my day job before I became mayor, I was a physics teacher, and this is kind of in my wheelhouse. But I do have a chuckle until I remind myself. So back in the 80s, and growing up in Nova Scotia, there was a partial eclipse. And I remember how excited I got as a kid. It was a really cool thing. And I'm trying to remind myself of that, there are lots of young people who've never seen this, lots of adults who've never seen this either. And it's the sort of thing, this is actually this is not a partial eclipse. This is a full eclipse. This is the only one we're going to see for, I think, 124 more years. Will be the next time we get a total eclipse running through this area. So this is a once in a lifetime event for a lot of people. And, anything that has people thinking about the skies and thinking about the cosmos, I think that's a fantastic thing.
Kingston is also getting ready to welcome record-sized crowds, but as Dan Takema shows us, exactly how many people may show up is still a bit of a wild card.
It's really exciting. This is going to be one of the biggest things that's happened to Kingston since Confederation.
Special edition t-shirts celebrating the total solar eclipse are a hot commodity at General Brock's commissary in downtown Kingston.
There we go. T-shirt.
The owners credit at least some of their success to their spokesperson, who's both stylish and safety conscious, and has been pulling in customers with his animal attraction.
So he's in the window modeling a shirt, and quite responsibly, he's modeling a pair of the Eclipse glasses.
While a spike in sales is welcome, the question on everyone's mind is just how many people are coming to Kingston. Estimates vary.
Those are big numbers. I mean, at first we heard 40,000, now we're hearing 70,000, even up to 500,000.
The last time Kingston saw a single event bring in tens of thousands was the Tragically Hip's final concert in 2016. The Eclipse is expected to draw an even bigger crowd.
We had some gridlock that occurred following that event as people left. And when you start thinking about we could have at least double that and possibly much more, then what does that mean?
Officials are warning residents to expect delays and that cell service could be disrupted because of demand. They're taking steps like shutting down some roads to make sure emergency vehicles can still respond to calls.
What we have to do is plan for the absolute worst scenario, that could be from a traffic congestion perspective, but hope for the best.
Signs of the eclipse are all over the city, from banners on light posts to eclipse glasses and merchandise, and reminders for how to protect your eyes.
The messaging is really welcome. Welcome to Kingston.
Tourism Kingston's team has been preparing for the past year and is hoping to make an impression on visitors.
Really, our communication is, if you think this was great, your next opportunity to come back to Kingston is going to be even better.
Back at General Brock's, staff are getting ready too, making sure eclipse-related items are in stock and preparing to batten down the hatches in case of traffic chaos.
I may have to bring in some rations and camp out here for a day or two.
Dan Takema, CBC News, Kingston.
Sophia joining us now, and of course the big question everybody is asking, is the weather going to cooperate on Monday?
I wish I had better news, but I don't have the worst news either, and it's only up from here. Countdown is on. This is very exciting. One day, 19 hours, it is finally here, folks. My bottom line is that this is going to be a coin toss forecast. The bottom line is that clouds will obscure the eclipse viewing for some, but not for all. There is a ton of cloud cover that we think is going to be there on that path of totality on Monday afternoon. Now, it could change as we continue to fine-tune this over the next 24 and 36 hours. The good news is that we are in a ridge of high pressure. That means there isn't going to be any low pressure systems bringing a ton of rain like we had a couple days ago on this path of totality, but there is a system that will be coming in through Minnesota after what is going to be a glorious clear sky weekend, go figure, and that cloud deck from that system coming up to Minnesota Sunday evening into Monday will bring us the cloud that could prove problematic. Now, I will detail this more in the long run because this isn't going to be a bust for everyone, but it really is going to be a coin toss. We will talk more in the long range about how high and low level cloud could impact your viewing in parts of Niagara region, and more of a high level cloud story for those of you in the afternoon and evening hours on Monday in parts of Eastern Ontario. Clear though as a bell if you're heading east towards Montreal for a little bit of a drive to see the eclipse. We will also talk about eclipse peak times as well, more in the long range, Shannon. Lots to talk about.
I keep thinking about the 401. Where are the masses going to go, west or east? So that's a bit of a clue there. Maybe east is looking a little better.
East, well, we'll talk in the long range as well about how it looks during high level and low level cloud, because it's a very different viewing experience. Equally just as good, though, depending on what you want.
Coin toss. Okay, we'll talk to you in a little bit.
Sounds good.
Toronto Public Health is hosting additional Mpox vaccination clinics after a rise in local cases. TPH is encouraging eligible residents to get vaccinated against Mpox due to a confirmed increase in cases since the start of the year. Walk-ins and appointments are available. You can find more information online, including clinic locations and dates.
He's in the weight room, so he's stitched up in the left hand doing all this. Oh, it could not. It's over! It's over, ladies and gentlemen!
There he is, half man, half amazing, and now a Hall of Famer. The Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame made it official earlier today, electing former Toronto Raptor Vince Carter into the Hall. You probably remember him for his electrifying dunks and aerial acrobatics above the rim. The 8-time NBA All-Star played a record 22 seasons in the league, winning Rookie of the Year and a slam dunk title. He also won a gold medal with Team USA at the 2000 Olympics. And this morning, he was on ESPN to reflect on his career and talk about this big accomplishment.
Well, first of all, when I got the call, I had to go outside just to make sure I got some fresh air, just in case, I needed some. But it just, the journey in general, you played 22 years. There's a lot of moments that has happened that has been very influential and close to my heart. But it's just going through the process all of these years. And, you start from high school and you just, you have that dream of making it to the NBA. When you get to the NBA, you have the dream of, for me, winning the dunk contest or being in the dunk contest and playing as long as possible. And then after that, once you retire, you start to hear Hall of Fame. And, for me personally, I was just like, I'm not sure, but, it'd be great to be considered. And not only was I considered, I got the opportunity to actually step through those doors, and it's unreal.
Unreal. Carter's illustrious career inspired many to start playing basketball, including a lot of the current generation of Canadian pro hoopers.
It's day and then it turns into night, like all of a sudden, because the moon covers the sun.
It's the best place to learn about the solar eclipse.
Home, I have special glasses to look at the eclipse.
And are you excited?
Yeah.
Lots of excitement at the Ontario Science Centre this weekend. You're looking at its special astronomy hub, all in anticipation of the big day Monday, the solar eclipse. There are demonstrations, crafts, and fun activities. I had a chance to meet a senior scientist at the Science Centre. She says part of what makes it so special is that it's a shared experience.
Yeah, it's the idea of sharing, like being witness to something together. There's a sense of awe. You might kind of feel like you need to scream a little, sounds start to emanate from your mouth that you didn't think were going to happen because you're feeling this real remarkable sense of being together. And then that shared experience with other people, it's also amazing because you then realize how we are all on this planet Earth, and that's really special.
Okay, on the big day, CBC News has a full day of special coverage starting bright and early with Heather Hiscox in Niagara Falls hosting Morning Live on CBC News Network. And then we have our special, The Eclipse in Canada, begins at 1 p.m. as the path of totality travels across North America. You can stream it too on CBC News Explorer, the CBC News app, and cbcnews.ca. Up next, Sophia's back with your full solar eclipse forecast. Monday's solar eclipse, we know, will be a rare moment, but for one Toronto couple, it also brings a chance to celebrate their own special memories. Patrick Swadden has their story.
An eclipse of the sun leaves millions of North Americans breathless.
The last total solar eclipse in Ontario, 1979. So they're rare. Catching one on your birthday, even rarer. But for this married couple, that's a distinction they'll soon both be able to claim.
We were driving one day and I realized, but wait a minute, we met 50 years ago. 25 years ago, you, on your birthday, had an eclipse. Now it's 25 years later, 50 years later in total, and I have an eclipse on my birthday. So we thought, how many people have had double experience in one lifetime, in one marriage, as one couple, and we thought, well, what are the odds?
Both students at the University of Waterloo in the 1970s, Judy and Ed Jewinski started dating exactly 50 years ago last week.
25 years later, we were in Paris with our kids.
That's when Judy realized the total solar eclipse fell on her birthday, August 11th, 1999.
And it was an amazing experience because it's August and it's Paris, so Paris is empty.
With few people around, she says, the temperature dropped in an instant.
You know, everybody says it gets cold. Well, it did. It was
remarkable.
28 degrees normal temperature, and we were freezing. We wanted to put on coats.
A quarter century later, it's Ed's turn for a birthday blackout, the couple opting for the same quiet, eerie atmosphere that Paris brought them decades ago.
I think there'll be enough people in Niagara that
we don't want to go there.
They'll probably just go to a local park, a moment that'll take them back 25 years. And what's the best part?
The sharing of it, right? That we're both still together and we're both seeing the second eclipse.
Patrick Swadden, CBC News, Toronto.
Sophia is a science whiz, but what I do love about this story, yes, is that part of it, this shared experience, something we can all do together, pause, take a moment, and just be in awe.
Yes,
hopefully.
The uniting aspect of it. And I gotta say, that couple might get lucky one more time, almost. August the 12th, the next total solar eclipse in 2 years, but they'll have to take a venture to Greenland or Spain in order to see that. But how close was that? And again, it just relays how rare this is. These are the next few total eclipses happening over the next 6 years or so, anywhere from Australia to Greenland, nothing around this area, folks. So yes, if you can get out and enjoy it safely, please go and do so. Let's get you into that forecast as quick as we can. Cloud deck moves in from that system we talked about barreling up towards Minnesota. Sunday evening into Monday. Here's what it's going to appear like for you. And there is room for improvement here, folks. We're being conservative on our forecast at the moment. Monday, April the 8th, if you're anywhere from Leamington to the Toronto area, you will wake up Monday morning and you will see the high cloud everywhere. You will be worried, but worry not, because by Monday afternoon, there will be plenty of breaks in that path of totality. So some of you will really luck out in parts of southwestern and southern Ontario, but for others, there will also be low-level cloud forming into the afternoon that could obscure this eclipse. Meanwhile, in comparison, in the east, it will be the high-level portion of that initial cloud deck moving in for those of you Monday afternoon and evening. Now, high-level cloud isn't a total bust. It dims and mutes the whole experience, but it provides other really interesting, beautiful details as well. So both ways you go, there's lots of good, and really, we are fairly lucky. We are in this ridge of high pressure. It could have been worse. As we head into the end of this next week, we are entering a really rainy pattern. Good time over the next 24 hours as well, Shannon, to get your glasses on, especially with your kids. Test it out, see what the sky and what the sun looks like now so that they're not surprised with the experience on Monday. We did that today, and it was really interesting.
Very good tips, and we're going to have more tomorrow night at 11. You'll be joining us, of course, with all your smart brain and facts on the eclipse. I can't wait for it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll try to deliver.
She will. You know she will. That's our show for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We leave you now with a little look again from Niagara Falls.